Thank you. The chair now recognizes Congresswoman Dean. You have 5 minutes.
Thank you so much, Mr. Chairman, again, for convening now this second panel to talk about these critically important issues to all of our communities. And I want to thank our public servants in HUD. Thank you for the extraordinarily important work that you do, and thank you for sharing your knowledge and experience and information with us today. I was wondering, I had talked with the previous panel about the tragedy, the twin tragedies, January 5th in Philadelphia, the row house fire killing 3 sisters and 9 of their children, and of course the fire that we are more focused on today. I'm wondering if HUD, following those tragedies within days of each other, had any emergency meetings or after action items that took place as a result of these twin tragedies, recognizing there are many other fires and other tragedies, but these were just so striking. Was there any action by HUD in response to the 2 fires?
Thank you so much, Congresswoman, for your question. Again, my condolences to the families in Philly as well. So there is a procedure at HUD when there are incidents to this level, when we're talking about tragedy and disasters and fires. That's something that is automatically flagged by our secretary herself and our deputy secretary. HUD reached out to the Public Housing Agency in Philadelphia. HUD reached out immediately to folks on the ground in the Bronx, and we had meetings right away. And so, but because I wasn't there at the particular time, I was not the regional administrator, I'll ask Deputy Assistant Secretary to step in. But I know that just from briefings today, we're still briefing every single day about the fires. And there's a weekly meeting held to make sure that families are receiving the services that they're supposed to be receiving. But I'll have Deputy Assistant Secretary step in.
Yeah, thank you, Congresswoman Dean. Yes, I was in my capacity at the time, and there were several emergency meetings immediately once we found out about both of those terrible tragedies, and I share my condolences as well. And we continue to meet on a daily basis about what we can do, right, to prevent those types of tragedies in the future. In addition to providing kind of localized assistance to the families, we have started looking at everything that we can do, right, from a health and safety standpoint, not just through Inspire, but are there more short-term things that we can do? We've offered assistance to, the housing agencies that were involved in both cases. And we've even offered up our inspectors to come up and supplement inspections of those particular housing agencies. So this is something we take very seriously. As the head of the Real Estate Assessment Center, I can honestly say that week was the worst week of my professional career. We take these issues very seriously, and we want to do what we can to prevent these types of tragedies in the future.
I appreciate that. And something else I was thinking about in terms of your work and reviews of these tragedies and your assistance is the state of the art on sprinkler systems. And we know, for example, the Philadelphia fire, what I understand from reading and speaking to those on the ground is it was an extremely fast-moving fire. And had there been a working sprinkler system, it could have prevented some of that horror, maybe put the fire out well in advance. I get that fire sprinkler systems, retrofitting older buildings is expensive. And I know in both public housing and in private housing, there are going to be property owners, landlords resistant to that. I have combated that at the local level in my own communities where a property owner is fully renovating a building but doesn't want to go to the expense of putting in sprinkler systems as he or she should. I'm a co-sponsor of the legislation by Bonnie Watson Coleman, the Public Housing Fire Safety Act, that would create a HUD grant program for public housing agencies to install automatic sprinkler systems I know my time is running low, but can you speak to that legislation and HUD's perspective on moving us into the next century and retrofitting buildings with sprinkler systems?
Congresswoman Dean, I can answer that. We welcome any efforts and corresponding funding to retrofit, HUD housing and bring HUD housing up to better physical condition with modern technologies like fire suppression systems such as sprinkler systems. And certainly, aged housing that we know that we have in our portfolio is extremely expensive to retrofit. However, that doesn't mean that it shouldn't be, something that should be addressed. And certainly, if you look at the language of the 1992 Fire Administration Act, it says that any new construction and or substantially rebuilt construction should be built with these types of systems in place. And so, because HUD housing is old and because we have not been able to keep up with the backlog of physical needs, it's been hard to do those substantial rebuilds that would be required. But certainly those types of systems have been found to prove extremely effective in protecting life in these circumstances.
We'll keep fighting for that, and I admire my colleague for putting forward the legislation. Again, thank you both for your work, and I yield back, Mr. Chairman.
Thank you.